So good morning, everyone, and welcome to Yin Yoga. Let's take a comfortable seat and we'll begin our practice. Allow the shoulders to gently drop away from the ears. You could even turn your palms upward, opening the energetic field of the front body. And take a moment just to settle your pelvis and your legs so that there's a strong, grounded foundation from the base. And as we know so well, as we practice yin, once we stop moving, the breath can deepen. The awareness drops in a little deeper. And we move into our deep knowing. The word somatics, which is what I incorporate in the yin practice, basically means body intelligence. The intelligence of each and every cell, tissues and organs, and energetic body. We have this deep knowing within us, but we forget. And I heard something this morning that was resonating with me around the books that we read or the people that we align with and talk with, things that we hear. And we think they're new ideas. We think that, oh, wow, that book was really helpful and I really got a lot out of it because, I forgot this or I didn't know that. But the reality is they're reminders. They're reminders to us to what we already know. We just forgot. And so sometimes I may say something to you that is profound in your mind, but it's something you already know. It was just a reminder. And something I may hear from another or read in another book, I already do know. It was just a reminder. And so as we practice today, let's let this practice be our great reminder of what we deeply know, what our body knows. And we're just coming home again. So bringing the hands together at the heart, holding that intention and anything else that you came to the mat with this morning. Allowing the practice and the class to be exactly what you need. Take a nice breath, and as you exhale, hands can release and eyes can flutter open. All right, so let's start lying down on our backs. Start in Shavasana. We'll start in Shavasana. And as we're in Shavasana, arms down, legs down, we're just coming to an understanding. We're being reminded, what is it that we need to know this morning when we start our practice? What is it that our body is communicating to us? And I like to use the three kind of gateways. One is the physical body. That's the most obvious gateway. What's that physical body need this morning? What is it telling you? And then go to the breath body. You notice the quality of the breath and the body breathing. And then finally, looking to the state of your mind. Where are you this morning? All right, so go ahead and bend your knees and we'll do our first somatic movement. Remember that word somatic is always talking about the body's intelligence, specifically the nervous system, if we want to get into, organ structure, but ultimately the whole body. Cross your right ankle over your left. And we're going to take the arms, if you can, into cactus or a T shape. Okay, so straight arm is a little easier. Cactus is a little bit more challenging for the shoulders. So we're going to keep the shoulders and the upper body quiet, and we're going to slowly start to let the legs drift over to the right. I want you to keep this exact shape and just move nice and slow as you go to the right. And you'll find your edge where you won't go anymore. And then inhale, come back up. And then I want you to gently roll over to the left. So moving in this very slow, quiet movement pattern. And we just go back and forth, right to left. Finding and exploring the inner body. If you like to turn your head during these twisty movements, you can go ahead and do that, rotating head, eyes away from the direction of the legs. But if you'd rather leave your head still and quiet, that's fine too. What I find I tend to do when I want to move my head is I tend to pick my head up and turn it. And that's one thing I don't want you to do. See if you can keep your head on the floor and just let it roll to one side, just like you're doing with your hips. And continuing the idea of breath moving the body. The breath is moving the body. The next time your legs go to the left, let that be your last time. And then when you come back up into center, I want you to pause there. And from here, let your arms come down. I want you to lift your left foot off the floor and bring your legs towards you, holding the legs wherever it feels best for you. So I like to hold behind my left thigh. You might hold your left shin. What I want you to do is relax your shoulders as much as you can. Relax your jaw as much as you can. This is our first yin hold. So right ankle on top of left knee. And then we're holding the left leg. So we're in that, what we call figure 4 stretch, right? So ankle over knee. And we're just holding there, pausing. Finding our way into that exploration of the inner body. If this feels really hard and you've got your leg up off the floor, you can put your leg down and just have the leg crossed over. Nothing saying you have to hold the foot off the floor. Just most people need to go there in order to get any kind of sensation, right? Some people will put blocks under their feet so that they don't have to hold their leg. Find your way through the last minute of a way that you can be here without struggle, and also create the tension that we need to do in order to start to break up some of the dehydrated tissue, which is basically what happens. The fascia gets what they call dehydrated and really almost hard. And interestingly, the only way to really hydrate fascia is to move, is to put tension against tissues, to get a massage. Those kinds of things really hydrate the tissue, not water. Take a nice deep breath. And then as you exhale, if you've got your left foot off the floor, put it down and uncross your right leg. I want you to stretch your right leg and your left leg down. Take a moment here in the middle for that mini shavasana. And you might notice a change in right leg compared to left now. And you might even say to yourself, oh, I remember how wonderful this is. This is that inner knowing. You know, it's that saying like, we know something's really good for us, but we don't do it. Why do we do that? We're humans. We forget, right? So that's why we need the reminders. Go ahead and cross your left ankle over your right knee. Arms are going to be in a T or back in cactus. And we'll work on the left side now. So slow somatic movement, take a breath, and as you exhale, just let your knees go over to the left. Try to keep the ankle on top of the knee so that you get this action in the hip sockets. And then when you're ready to inhale, the legs come back up and you rock over to the right. Remember that you can turn your head if that's something that you like to do. That feels more complete of a movement pattern. The breath is moving the body, so try not to hang out anywhere. Just let your breath move like a wave of an ocean. And interesting, there is a very, very slight pause in an ocean wave. When it comes all the way up, you've probably watched it. There's a moment in time before it recedes. And then if we could see it out in the water, there'd be a moment in time before the next wave comes in. And our breath is just like that. We're not really holding the breath, but you'll notice your own pattern of pause at the end of the exhale and the end of the inhale. So it's a fascinating study, fascinating exploration of our own inner body. The next time your legs go over to the right, let that be your last side. And then when you come back up to center, I want you to lift the right foot up if you're going to do that and hold your right side. And so now we're in the left hip. You can relax your feet unless you have knee concerns. If you have knee concerns, maybe flex your feet. But ideally, we don't want to work too hard in the pose, right? We want to allow the tissues to soften. And so if we're holding and we're contracting, the tissues don't get a chance to soften. I was talking to a woman I met yesterday. She was fascinating. She studies somatics and trauma-informed yoga, which I thought was really fascinating. And I am going to follow up with her because she was a really cool lady. Anyway, she was talking about the first time she had this experience, because she's done yoga and, she thought it helped her. And then she said she went to her first somatics. It was more of a restorative class than a yin class, but the principles are all the same. And she said for the first time, she really was able to feel and sense and understand the level of trauma that was living in her tissues that she didn't actually know were there. And I think that's a really wonderful experience to have if we can hone that loving compassion towards ourselves no matter what we're going through, and not just be mad. So we take the moment to go, oh, like a young child, it's okay, whatever's going on is okay. We've all had some level of trauma over our lifetimes. Some have big T traumas, some have little T traumas. So when we can sense and feel that, and we know, we are our own love and compassion and healing, we can really, really move that. And it doesn't get stuck in the tissues, which is a wonderful thing. Go ahead and uncross your leg, relax, take a breath. And then finding your way back to that mini shavasana. Find your way back to that mini shavasana. And just sense and feel through those three gateways. Again, physical body, breath body, mental body. What is happening? And we might even take a moment today, because I talked about this last week, December being the month of light, right? And I think of light like physical light, and I think of light in the sky and light in our knowing, in our body, in our cells. How can we nourish? How can we support moving more towards the light and less away from, these dark, sticky places that we can get ourselves into? And so yin can help us do that. Meditation can help us do that. The other thing that can help us is to breathe into the heart center. The heart center and the right brain are connected. The whole brain really is connected, but the right side of the brain is what we call the heart brain. And the heart has the biggest energetic resonance of our whole body. It's not our brain, it's our heart. And so if we can breathe there, we can tap into this fourth gateway, which is our emotions. How many times do we just kind of not deal with our emotions because they're hard? Emotions can be challenging. I was watching television last night and I watched two shows. Neither of them should have caused tears, but I was crying in both of them. And I found myself wanting to hold it back, like, because I was a little embarrassed about why I was even crying in these two shows, but I was. So why do we do that? I don't know. All right, bending your knees, rolling over to a side and pushing yourself up away from the floor. Okay, so let's go to the favorite, Miss Butterfly Pose. And so bringing your feet so that they touch in front of you. I am going to ask you to bring the feet closer to you in a minute. So keep your feet as far away from you as you can with them touching. And then if you like your props, remember bolster, maybe blocks, whatever you like to use in this one. So take a breath and come from this tall seated position. And then can you start to flex forward from your pelvis, not driving your head down? Come to your edge of wherever, and maybe you're going to use your arms on the bolster or the blocks. Maybe you're going to put a block underneath your forehead. Maybe you're going to hold your head in your hands and let your elbows hold you. Find a place where you can actually be. Feeling the sensations now in the back of the body. If you're holding your head, it's nice to play with. Do I want to hold my chin or do I want to hold my forehead? In this shape, the chin or the forehead is more of the natural line of the spine. Your head is in a little tilted down position. And you can just allow your head to be free. Just depends on what's going on. So if you've got a lot of activity in the mind this morning, putting your hands or a block or something on your forehead is a really quieting thing to do. And so we go into that remembering, that inner knowing that's always with us. We just get a little bit sidetracked, we get a little busy, we forget. And it's really ideal, just like if we're trying to connect with the sensations of the body, because it will give us information and it will guide us into whatever it is we want to do. We want to also connect with the sensations of the heart, the emotion. And I can tell you from personal experience that when you don't feel all the feelings and you kind of stuff it down and you try not to have a reaction, a response to whatever is going on, it will live in your tissues. And that's where we end up with all kinds of issues. Issues in the tissues, as they say. And so with love and compassion, we feel all the feelings and we pay attention to the sensations and we have this deeper connection with the self, with us. Take a nice deep breath. And then we're going to slowly come up, sitting up nice and tall. And if you're using any kind of prop, move it off to the side for a minute. I want you to take your right leg and stretch it out to the side and bring your left foot in as far as you can. We're going to turn to the long leg, so turn to your right. And on this one, I like to use both of my blocks because I'm pretty tight in this action, but you might actually choose something different. So turning towards the leg and then starting to fold forward. And I can't even put my arm on my block all the way in that second position. So I'm bringing my blocks all the way up. So this is a tighter action for me. I can feel it in my right side body. So I'm just being really, not gentle, gentle is not the right word, more understanding of, oh, you're a little bit tight this morning. Maybe you slept funny. Go ahead and adjust yourself so that you can actually have a really good experience and not suffer. And then we try as best as we can to find that still point, holding for time. And know that there isn't any wrong way to do this other than maybe working too hard, pushing yourself too hard. I've been reading a lot around perimenopause, funny as that sounds. It's like we're all, the community that I'm in with all of you, we're all past perimenopause, right? We're in postmenopause. But for whatever reason, I am being introduced to a younger audience of women that are starting to go through perimenopause, and they are freaked out. this generation coming up through this now, they are really, really frustrated because of a lot of unknowing. And it is true that, you hit this time of your life and you don't even know you're in it really until you're all the way in it. And there's so much frustration around symptoms and how you're feeling and how your body's changing. And so I've been talking a lot about what Ayurveda teaches us around transition times, and it has been really, really helpful in a lot of ways. Take a nice deep breath. And then slowly starting to bring yourself upward. And then we're just going to switch the sides. So moving slowly, stretching the left leg out and bringing the right leg in. And then we're going to switch over to the other side. So you might notice it feels different. Before you bend over this leg, turn your body so that you're in a little bit of a twist, and then start to lean forward. Yeah, see, I can get down on both blocks on this side. And this is such a wonderful way to understand our bodies and our habits and our sticky places, what I like to call them. Anyway, why am I telling you all that? Because if I knew then what I know now, I think my journey through perimenopause and into postmenopause really would have been different. And when we get into postmenopause and we start to have a lot of issues in our tissues, usually it's because we didn't learn the lesson of nourishing and slowing down and really paying attention to what happens in our body during perimenopause. We just want it all go away. We want to take a pill, make it better, because I just want to get on with my life. And I get that. I truly get that. And being someone who is on the other side, I can honestly say, and maybe you could say to yourself, like, wow, yeah, that was a journey going through perimenopause. And when I got to the other side, I had some shit to take care of. And you know what they say, if you don't listen and take care of yourself with a love and compassion, not with anger and frustration, the body will slow you down. I see it over and over and over again. And so the message that we have in Yin, the message that we have in Ayurveda is to not do anything. That's not what the teaching is. The teaching is to find a balance. And on days when you need a lot of nurturing and nourishing, you take it. You don't just push through it. Sometimes we have to, but most of the time we don't. We just choose it a different way. I mean, how often do you take an aspirin because you have a headache rather than laying down? Pretty common in our culture. All right, take one more deep breath here. And then slowly make your way up. And we've got one more here. And this is the one where we put our feet close together. So bring your feet together and then see where you can come with your feet. If you have knee issues, don't go to a place of pain. See if putting props under your legs help you. See if sitting up helps you. So I always keep this little sandbag near me so that I can sit up on it, because it does help tip the pelvis into what we call an anterior tilt so that you can sit up. So finding where you can be here. If you have the freedom to tip down, go ahead. I want there to be a lot of sensation on the inner part of your leg now. So see if you can find that. You can leave your arms kind of tucked in like mine are. You can put your hands down on the floor. You can stack your blocks up and make a little tower if you want to put your head on your blocks. Find a way that you can become still. So moving through your practice with love and compassion. Honoring this deeper knowing and this inner light that we have within us. And when we take the time to make that connection, slow ourselves down, be in this energy of stillness and quiet. There's this really deep, sort of loving sense that, oh, thank you so much. It's exactly what I needed. Because yin is a form of meditation. I like to call it the moving meditation. We're not really doing anything other than becoming and creating stillness. Stillness in the mind, stillness in the body, connecting on a deep level to that inner light and compassion. Take a nice deep breath. Slowly, with your fingers, if you like, or your hands, start to bring yourself up. Once you're seated all the way, take your hands to your outer knees, gently draw them in and let them stretch down. And for a moment, you might want to lean back on your hands and just give yourself a little stretch backwards, pushing your chest open. It's a nice counter action here. So we're going to lie down on our backs next. We're going to move into the lateral body again. So taking the time to lie on your back first and find that little mini shavasana. Little baby shavasana in the middle here. And just as a reminder, because I'm feeling it in my body, if you have any kind of sensation that feels tender when you come out of a shape like that, especially when you lay down, let your body settle. Because it's just a matter of the tissues sort of organizing themselves. And the one thing that can get us into trouble is if we feel something and we get really scared or we make up a story around it, like, oh no, my back's gonna go right. Oh, I hurt my back and it's gonna hurt. No, don't do that. Because that's telling your body where you're gonna go. Rather than just, it's all right, soften. Nothing's wrong, everything's fine. You know, there's this loving way to address sensations that we have in the body, and then adjust if we need to. All right, so we're gonna move into the lateral body, which again, can bring up stuff, in the deep tissues, so just go slow and easy. Right, bring your feet over to the right side of your mat. I like to hook my right foot over my left, but you can keep them relaxed, or you can hook the other foot. Keep your left hip down and wiggle over to the right side of your mat with your head and shoulders. Again, you can keep your arms down, or you can hold your wrist, your left wrist, and bring your arms over your head. Now, if that's not available, you can always put a bolster behind your head or a blanket so that the floor comes up to your arms, or you can let your arms be down. And breathing into any sensation that you happen to notice. Again, you can turn your head one way or the other. I like to find the tension. So I usually check both sides when I turn my head. And this morning, the tension is more if I turn my eyes to the left. Sometimes it's the other way. And you just allow your left hip to feel heavy, heavy, creating space around the left side of the body. You can soften your jaw. Let your tongue rest on the bottom of the jaw of the mouth rather than at the roof of the mouth. And the teeth can be slightly apart. Your lips can be together, but your teeth can be slightly apart. Softening and relaxing the jaw itself and the joint that connects up to the skull. You might even notice a little variation or change in sensation around your face or eyes or ears, side of the head. Take a nice deep breath. And then if your arms are over your head, bring your arms down. Slowly start to bring yourself back to the middle of the mat. And in between sides, it might be nice for you to bend your knees and rock your pelvis, or bring your knees to your chest, or even lift your pelvis away from the floor. Any or all of those things are good to help you come back into a neutral position. And then when you feel ready, your body feels pretty, the word neutral comes to mind because it means that there's not a lot of pulling or tightness or vulnerable tension. You just feel kind of even. When your legs go down, walk them over to the left side, and again, decide about your crosses. If you're going to do that, you don't have to. Wiggle your shoulders and head over to the left, keeping your right hip down. And then again, just like we did with the other side, if you want to hold your arms, I like to hold my right wrist in my left palm. Kind of gives me a little organization. You could also grab your forearms or your elbows. And then take a breath and soften into the shape that you just created. nice thing about yin is it doesn't really matter what it looks like. The only thing that matters is what it feels like on the inner body. This inner journey. We just start to get really curious around that inner journey. How can we create space and prana so that not only do we move better and feel better, but we actually heal from the inside out. And going all the way back to that discussion around the perimenopause journey, you can think back to yourselves and your own journey. And were you distracted? Did you just want to do your life and get done what you wanted to get done? Or was there an opportunity? Maybe it wasn't even a good opportunity, but something that stopped you in your tracks to say, wait a minute. This is not what I need, this busy, crazy, multitasking way, always doing. We need something else right now. I'd like to think that the world that I live in and the people that I know pretty much get this now. But we didn't get it when we were younger, at least I didn't. I was in the health and fitness world, but I was running around like a crazy person. And just asked and demanded things of my body that, looking back, was absolutely ridiculous. And so with that love and compassion, oh, I'm so sorry, I just didn't know. I just didn't know what I know now. Take a nice deep breath. And then bringing your arms down if they're over your head, wiggle yourself back to the middle of the room, middle of the mat. And then find your way, maybe bent knees for sure this time. And in my body, pelvic rocking feels the best, but you might do something different. Some people like to rock their knees side to side, like we were doing in the beginning. Some people like to bring their knees to their chest. Okay, so let's roll over onto our side. And I want you to set yourself up in a, what I would call a chest opener position. Couple different ways you can do this. What I want is your chest to be open and your arms to be able to be open. So the easiest way is if you have a blanket. The easiest way is with a blanket. You can make it high or low. You can see this blanket is folded too many times. So I'm going to take it and make it into a narrower rectangle. Like that. Okay. So I'm going to show you two ways. This is going across the back body where your head lays on the floor. If that feels too hard, I want you to turn it so that it goes the length of the body and the end of the blanket comes up around your bra line and your head is up here. Okay, so one or the other, they're both really, really nice. If you get into this shape, I did this in my in-person class, and I was really shocked at how many people couldn't do it, because I don't do this all the time. And then if you're in this shape, you're going to hold your head and slowly unwind yourself. So I like to keep my hands behind my head, let my elbows open. For me, this is fairly challenging, so I could say to myself, all right, it's probably a little too much. I could unroll the blanket, make it a little smaller, because this is a thick one. Or I could try the other way. maybe the other way would be better. If you do this other way, goodness, the blanket's coming in now. Have the folded side of the blanket against your back. And the other side for your head. Everybody got a spot where they feel like they're doing a good job. So remember, arms, I want a little bit wider if you can. Knees can stay bent. You can put them in constructive rest pose, which is knees touching and feet apart. Or you can put your feet together and let your knees come apart. Or you can put your legs all the way down. So finding a place that works for you. And I think when we create these props in this propped up position, if you will, there's, again, going back to that inner knowing. How do you know you're in the right spot? I'm not there to suggest anything. I can't really get my hands on you. So how do you know? Your inner knowing knows. Your inner being goes, oh, that's the right spot. This is exactly where I want to be. And so you know, going all the way back to the beginning, you know. You just forgot, or maybe you don't trust your own instincts or intuition. There's that too. We think everybody else knows better, has all the answers. When in truth, we really are our own intelligence. And the word intelligence for me means that deeper knowing. It doesn't mean, oh, I've got a PhD in something, something, something. That's a different intelligence. That's not what I'm talking about. And we can spend our entire life chasing that. I gotta know more, I've gotta do more, I've gotta learn more, I've gotta know what's going on. No, you don't. No, you don't. You've got all the deeper knowing that you ever need right inside of every single cell. And if you're a chaser of information, that's a hard one to swallow. And it isn't saying that you shouldn't read and you shouldn't know, but there's a balance. And that chasing of the information is our ego-driven action. It's not really coming from that heart brain place. I find that so comforting. I don't have to know anymore. I don't have to read any more books. We are in the stage of our life where we're, our wisdom can shine out into the world and we can share that wisdom. And again, I don't mean what we know by how many books we've read. It's really more about your presence, your light. Alrighty. Take a nice deep breath. So you have an option here. I'm gonna lead you through a little pranayama, so you can sit up. That would be the ideal. So rolling off of the prop and coming up to sitting. And sit in a way that makes you feel like your spine is nice and long and you're not struggling. So I'm gonna sit up on one of my blocks. Or if you don't want to sit for whatever reason, just lie down on your back. Let your knees be bent. Whichever way you're positioned, just go ahead and close your eyes. Allow the breath to become nice and even. You might even notice, like we talked about in the beginning, where we were referring to that wave of the ocean and how there's this moment in time where it stops before it recedes again. Noticing your own breath pattern without you trying to manipulate it in any way. That momentary pause before you change the cycle of breath. Last week I was using a word spanda. Spanda, which means to contract and expand with ease. So your breath is a really good example of this. The exhale is the contraction phase, and the inhale is the expansion phase. Can you feel those two opposing actions, contraction and expansion, as a beautiful flow, just like the wave of the ocean? And now, without using your hands, see if you can bring your conscious awareness, your present awareness, to your left nostril. And breathe more through the left nostril. Try to keep that same spanda, that same flow in the breath. I don't want you to change it at all. Your body's breathing exactly as it needs, but you're bringing your conscious awareness to the left nostril, which, as you know, stimulates the right brain, the right heart brain, and the channel of yin, which is nourishing, cooling, quieting inward. And now take your awareness back to both nostrils and allow the breath to move back and forth, in and out, through right and left nostril. And if you're like me, you're fascinated over this fact that you can do this with only your intention, your awareness. And take one more nice deep breath here. And then with your eyes either closed or just staying really quiet, let's move into Shavasana from here. So if you would prefer to stay seated and do a quiet meditation while we're in Shavasana, you're welcome to do that. Or you can just lie down and go into Shavasana. Remember, use your inner knowing. Use that deep intuition. Take a longer and deeper breath. And if you're lying down, start to stretch and move, bringing yourself back to your body. And slowly bending your knees, rolling to a side, and come up to sitting. And if you're sitting, bring your hands together and rub your hands, creating a little bit of heat. And then cover your eyes. And just slowly, slowly feel, and you could even open the eyes with your hands covering them. Feel the warmth. And then allow the hands to come together at the heart center, pausing here. In gratitude always for our time together on the mat. And this deep connection that we have, this deep inner knowing, our deep guiding light. May our light always shine brightly, and may we always see the light in each other. Namaste.